right, everyone. So if you can hear me and see my slides, go ahead and type a 1 into the chat for me. And we will go ahead and get going. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks to Mike, thanks to the team, thanks to everyone. Excellent, lots of ones coming in. Throughout the conversation this evening, if you have questions, hey Cindy, if you have questions about anything that I go over, feel free to stop me. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to, hold on one second. Let me move this out of the way too. Feel free to jump in and I will make sure to answer any questions that you have and also make sure to go over anything that needs clarification. So I'm really, really excited to spend some time with you here to share some information and to really just go over two of the most important things, and we're going to go over actually more than that, but two of the most important things that I think are going to really change your business and make a difference for your business this year. So let's go ahead and get going. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Smithee. I'm the CEO of a digital growth agency here in New York City called the Smithee Group. My background is actually in consumer intelligence. I started a company back in 2009 that was focused on millennial insights and really studying the consumer of the future. And in that space, we dealt with brands that were like General Mills and Coke and McDonald's and you name it. I fell into the jewelry industry in 2011, beginning of 2012, and started working in the research space and then really developed TSG when I started that in 2015 to really focus on the jewelry industry and how we grow businesses through digital marketing, advertising, social media, and you name it. Our focus is growth and tied back to ultimately business growth and the key metrics there. So I'm excited to be here. And as we get going, one of the things I wanted to say is just congrats. You made it through 2020. It looks like 2021 will be the end of the craziness at some point. So congrats on making it through. But what's coming? How do you prepare? And what will it take to win in 2021 and beyond? And that's what we're going to talk about today. My chat just disappeared. So let me get one thing back up here. There we go. All right. So what is it going to take? What do we got to do? Where are we going? We're going to talk about 6 key different areas. We're going to fly through it. But I wanted to let you know that if you email me, I'll put my email address up there and we will send you these slide decks. And I think the team will make it available as well. But first, out of the 6 key things that we're going to go today, the first thing that you need to know about is we are in this digital first ecosystem. And what do I mean by that? The digital first consumer is here. It was already happening and COVID just sped it up. That means that consumers are seeking information, seeking entertainment, seeking knowledge, all of these different things in a digital first environment. That means if you are not in the digital space, and COVID saw this, COVID showed us this in the retail environment and in the jewelry environment, that if you're not a digital first business, if you're not focused on reaching the consumer through digital first, you're missing the game, right? You're completely not even in the game. And so when all of these other things shut down, of course, we saw the need for digital, and a lot of people saw the need first for e-commerce and saw the need for social media and all of these things that we've been preaching for years. They finally saw it as a necessity. But the truth is it was always coming. COVID just sped that up. And my favorite saying is, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once the consumers have started down this train of thought, once the consumers have been in this mindset, you're not going to go in reverse. We're not going, everybody says like, oh, there's going to be this sort of divergence and people are going to revert back to analog type things, maybe in certain trends like vinyl records and things like that. But when it comes to discovery, when it comes to things that are revolving around this machine right here, we're not going to retreat from that. So we're in a digital first consumer environment. The other thing, that means that we're going to experience more crowded markets. So you have to be more strategic with your budget allocations. And we're going to talk a little bit later, but most of you probably need to increase what you're doing to be effective when it comes to digital and social and all of these other budget allocations. But as you know, as the pandemic pushes on, consumers spent more time online. Social media is becoming an even more important part of the connection. HBR, the Harvard Business Review, was talking about this, and they had a great article about how large corporations are transferring more and more and more of their budgets to digital and social. And what that translates down into is small businesses, whatever the corporations are doing, you need to be doing it in a greater extent as a small business. So if big corporations are shifting to digital, you need to be already in the digital space, because big corporations are slow to change and they're laggards. And once they do everything in mass scale. So now is really the time you need to be investing into building a really true integrated and agile social media function to adapt to the new landscape. So that's the second thing here, is that crowded markets mean more strategic budget allocations. You need to be smart where you're spending your digital and your advertising across the platforms. The other thing is you need to be focusing on more pathways to enter. And I think if someone can go ahead and mute out, there you go, thank you. There needs to be more pathways to enter. You need to focus on the fact that the digital environment is now having a ton of pathways to enter toward brand awareness, right? We'll talk in a minute about top of funnel, but really you need to be focusing on diversifying your pathways to discover and build brand awareness. So whether that's podcasts, influencers, Instagram, Facebook, mobile ads, digital, email, chat, all of these different pieces, right? Waze ads, YouTube pre-roll, like all of these different pieces that are pathways to enter brand discovery are where you need to be focusing on, right? You need to be focusing on understanding, how do we find multiple pathways to have our brand discovered and build brand awareness in the category? So the next era of digital, to sum that first section of the 6 up, the next era of digital is this. We have a digital first consumer. COVID sped it up. It will not reverse. 2 is that crowded markets mean more strategic budget allocations. You got to get smart with how you're spending, get educated on what dollars in digital can do for you. And you got to diversify your channel exposure, multiple pathways to enter at the top. You can't just be doing one thing. So that's 1, the digital ecosystem. We're in a digital first ecosystem. Number 2 is you need to focus on the customer experience, right? The customer experience journey of your store and the overall pathway. And what do I mean by that? We used to be in this world where everybody in digital was really focusing on last click attribution, and they were so focused on last click. Well, these times are changing. Like, last click matters to a certain extent, but only to the extent that it's truly, truly traceable. And in a lot of you, what you're doing in your businesses, you're spending more time trying to figure that out, but you really need to be focusing on multi-touch. That means how many different points throughout the customer experience and throughout the customer's journey and buying journey can we touch the customer with our marketing or advertising or messaging, whatever that may be? How many different multiple touch points can I have with a consumer, instead of spending all your time trying to worry about what's the last thing that they did to get us here? How do I attribute the very last thing to a remarketing ad or all of that? Yes, that's important, but more importantly, to win, you need to be focusing on multiple touch points versus what's the last click or this one little thing, because that's not how consumers are shopping. That's not how we think. That's not how digital works in the future modern era of digital and social media. The other thing is, I touched on this a second ago, but because there's so many different touch points for brand awareness, you need to be loading the top of your funnel, right? In marketing, we call it the marketing and the ad funnel and the customer funnel, where it's top, middle, bottom. Top is discovery, middle is warming and nurturing, and bottom is conversion and sales. You need to be loading the top of your funnel. If you're not focused on absolutely loading top of funnel metrics, you are doing it wrong. That means you need to be doing social, search, email, blogs, websites, content, video ads, pre-roll, pay-per-click, all of these things. You need to be loading the top of your marketing funnel like never before, because it's the only way you're going to really drive and create a new customer experience. The load is diversified, and the 2 points that we're going to talk about here today that are the main points are Evergreen and Omnichannel. And so all of these precursing points are really to lead up to that. So load your top of funnel. You need to be really focusing on all of the different things you can be doing to reach a customer today. The other piece you need to ask yourself is how convenient is your business? Consumers right now are looking for a frictionless environment and a frictionless brand experience, right? Everything has been pushing us in that way, whether it's Uber, whether it's Postmates, whether it's DoorDash, whatever that may be. We're looking for convenient brands that are convenient to consume. And what do I mean by that? Yes, you may have the best in-store experience and the best retail environment. That's excellent, but it needs to be convenient for a consumer to experience and find exposure to your brand, to learn more about your business, to get a feel for who you are as human beings, and then ultimately create an experience with your business. So it's very, 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 very important that you make sure that your brand is convenient. So stop and ask yourself, how convenient is your business right now? If I was to say metrics of convenience, meaning how easy is it for your business to be discovered? How easy is it to find out more information? How easy is it to see your people? How easy is it to see pricing? How easy is it to learn more about how your bridal experience differs from your competitors? What fashion brands you carry, why you carry those brands, what they mean to you, how I should style this jewelry, all of these different things. Let me know in the chat out of convenience factor from 1 to 10, 1 being not very convenient to 10 being more convenient than anything out there, right? That's the Uber experience, the Postmates experience. How convenient is your brand right now? From 1 to 10, throw that in the chat when you think about those questions that I was asking you. How convenient is your business to the consumer right now when you think about your business? All right, got some 5s middle of the road there down the line. Those are very self-aware, probably very accurate ratings right there. There's something that you should be doing. We think about website, we're like easy to be found, meaning if I type in Smithie's Jewelers, I'm going to rank high enough that I can see the website and all of these different things. But sometimes we don't really go past that. We really need to ask ourselves, how can we make our brand, our business, most convenient to the consumer? So I'm happy to see that there's some self-awareness out there, and that gives you room to think about this question and how to optimize for it. So the consumer journey is vast. And so customer experience is a big, big, big important piece of it. And the 3 things you need to remember here are think multi-touch points versus last click attribution, right? None of you have this massive sort of web journey that you have to focus on last click because you're spending $1 million in one channel on media that you need to optimize. And that last click attribution you need to make decisions between spending $1 million in this channel versus that channel, right? So focus on multi-touch versus last click. In doing so, load the top of your marketing funnel. Most of you are not building enough top of funnel awareness to trickle down into convertible sales, where you're seeing, $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 in online revenue. The way you're going to do that is load the top of your funnel, right? And then convenient connection. Consumers are looking for a convenient connection with businesses. How convenient is your business? All right, that was the second thing. I told you we're going to fly through these. The third thing, and then we get into the 2 most important things. The third thing is content with context, right? If you've ever seen me present anything, I've always talked about the importance of content, and that's not changing. It's only getting even more important. So I want to ask you, how contextualized are your ads, right? Running multiple variant ads are a must today. Consumers are vast. We have a lot of different customer segments. We have a lot of different types. This same image approach is using different products, different backgrounds, right? Different approaches, different styles. And in here, right, we can sell these different items across the variety of different consumers, but one consumer may connect easily with one of these ads out of the 5 of them. So if we're not looking at how many different contextualized ads, we're running things right now, for example, if you look at an AM/PM version, rather than just running the same bridal engagement or fashion jewelry ad all day long, we're doing one in the AM that says, hey, we interrupt your work from home for a little daydreaming break, and it shows a picture of a beautiful ring. And then at night we're running, hey, we're interrupting your Netflix binging while you're looking up your favorite actor, right? Where you're looking up who that actor was. We're going to show them an ad that's a pre-roll or Instagram ad that says, hey, we interrupt your Netflix binging to let you dream a little more, right? And so we're showing that same ring, but contextualized for 2 different times a day and 2 different scenarios, right? So contextualization on ads is going to be a big thing. And the way you do that is running multiple ad variants. So when it comes to that, when you're running digital ads, you need to be running 2, 3, 4, 5 different variants on these things until you really optimize what's working for which target. Ivy mentioned in the chat, how many touch points should I have? Any guidelines? And the truth is as many as possible. You cannot have too many touch points. And if you do, your audience will tell you, you'll start to see the decline. So if you're measuring your KPIs month over month, when you start to see a decline in traffic, when you start to see a decline in email open rates, when you start to see an abundance in cost per click or a lower click-through rate, that's when we know we're hitting that that threshold of too many touch points. But when it comes to the amount of variety of touch points, you can't have too many. Right now, you need to be as diverse as possible across the way. That's a great question. So ad variations. The second thing is focus on relevance in this space. When it comes to contextual content, focus on relevance, right? Your content needs to be contextualized for the time, the place, the environment, and how your brand or that product is relevant to the consumer right now. No longer is it good enough just to post a generic ad, right? We need to focus on optimizing how do we make our brand relevant to the consumer experience? How do we make our brand relevant to the consumer's need? How do we make our brand relevant to the lifestyle? And relevance is really value, meaning what is the value that we're providing to you as a customer from our business, right? So contextualized and relevant ads are a super important thing you need to be thinking about right now. And before you start launching ad campaigns, you need to think about these aspects of it. So when it comes to content, the shift on content that you need to be thinking about this year is contextualized advertising, right? Multivariant ad operations. So when you're running here to your same segment, are you running multiple ads and ad variants? And focus on relevance. The other thing I'll say is we're also starting to layer on different types of advertising. And we'll talk about that in the next sections here. And now we're getting to the 2 most important things. So all of these are sort of par for the course to sort of set the foundation of where you should be, right? Setting your mindset of understanding that you're in a digital first ecosystem, changing that perception, the future consumer experience, understanding what do you need to be doing to get consumers in your experience, and then content, like how are we shaping our content? The next 2 things I think are the 2 most important things and the 2 most important concepts you need to be focusing on this year in 2021 with your marketing and your advertising. And the first is omnichannel experience. And a lot of you have heard about this. A lot of you have heard this as a buzzword because it's been a buzzword for a long time, but you need to understand the importance of it because of the first 3 things that we talked about, because the digital ecosystem has changed, because the consumer journey expectations have changed, and because the expectations of content have changed. We need to focus on an omnichannel approach for our business. If you would have heard me speak at a conference probably anywhere 2-3 years ago, you would have heard me tell you about a variety of different things, right? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, search, display, Pinterest, you name it. And I would have told you when you asked the question of me, how do you do all of this? And I'd say, focus on the one thing, right? You're not missing out on by just doing the one thing. The environment has shifted though. Doing the one thing is now too expensive, meaning the opportunity cost that you're missing out on all the other channels is starting to be too great. By going deep on one thing, you're missing out on the variety of everything else out there where consumers are actually consuming content. Because the way that consumers are consuming content has been so diversified now across all these different platforms, the chances of you only capitalizing on just one platform via Instagram is not as great as it used to be, right? Yes, it can still build business, but if only 20% of the attention is on Instagram now, and you're only 80% effective on Instagram, well, you do the math, you're only getting 80% of that 20%, and 80% of the market's attention is on all these other platforms. So as the platforms have diversified, omnichannel means that you need to have an experience, a customer experience that's optimized across all the different key channels. I'm talking about Facebook, I'm talking about Instagram, I'm talking about Google, search, display, email, text, Pinterest moving into there, YouTube pre-roll, whatever that may be, video content, live content. The time is now to where you need to invest in and invest your time and your efforts and your strategy in diversifying across a number of platforms to create a truly omni-channel experience and an omni-channel exposure, rather than just focusing on solely the one thing, because the opportunity cost is just too great to not focus on the rest. The rest has gotten so big that the one thing is actually decreasing. Does that make sense? I hope everybody understands the concept that I'm trying to teach here, because it's so important to understand that, yes, the one thing is easy. And I encourage you to start with the one thing, but you need to be investing in growing across platforms, growing across all of these things, because you're missing out on the way that consumers are actually starting their journey. So you need to hit them on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Google, and then capture an email and then send them an email. And then they're going to come to your site and set up an appointment or call you or come into the store. It's just the journey that we're seeing mapped across consumer experiences today. The other thing is you have to try new things. It's not about just doing the one thing successfully over and over again today. Consumers are fickle and they're trying new things. They're looking at new platforms. So you have to set your mindset in an omni-channel world to try new things, to try new platforms, to understand what's going out there, to put budget into testing new things. And the problem is you are now committed to having to test budget and things. You don't know if they're going to work, but you have to test it and try it in order to see if it can increase your bottom line or not. So this is the age of experimentation. It's the age where you need to be innovative and really thinking about new content that can help push your business forward. And this is the year to do that. This is a year where you need to be investing in and putting budget aside for pilot projects in your business on a new platform. Maybe it's new video creation. Maybe it's new tools to go live. Maybe it's a new platform. Maybe it's Pinterest ads. Maybe it's YouTube pre-roll ads. Maybe it's TikTok ads. Whatever these things are, you need to be investing in trying new things, because it's the only way you're going to get good at them by the time they catch mainstream attention, to where you're in there and already an expert at it. You're capturing market share and you're getting convertible customers from it. So this is the year to try new things. So type a yes in the chat if you're willing to try something new this year. And ideally in the first quarter, I want you to commit to trying something new this year, because that's what's going to push your business forward. We can no longer rest on what got us here, right? What got us here is not going to get you there. So I can commit to you that if you try new things, you're going to be successful this year. The other thing, the new omnichannel. Omnichannel used to be about, how do I create the same experience across all the different channels? But the adapted new omnichannel is about, how do I create and optimize the experience for each of these channels? And what you'll start seeing is, as you test and as you practice in each of these channels, you're going to start seeing that you're going to need to modulate your approach a little bit different. Remember that past slide when I showed you the 5 different ads with the spectacle ads, right? In those, right, the one that performs best on Facebook is potentially not going to be the one that performs best on Pinterest promoted pins or YouTube pre-roll or X, Y, and Z, right? So you have to modulate your approach for each channel. And that's why it's important to test a variety of ads in each channel to optimize it and see, okay, this works for Facebook. A more informative, longer caption works for Instagram. A short, quippy caption works for Facebook with a link that they can actually link out to. A video works better for TikTok, and an audio works better. The voiceover works better for YouTube pre-roll with a couple dynamic images, right? The way you optimize across all these channels is going to change the game when it comes to what you need to be doing next, how you approach it. But omnichannel is about creating an adapted experience across all channels versus just taking your one experience and blasting it across all the channels. So it's really important to understand how omnichannel is adapting. The other thing that you need to look at for omnichannel is this. Stop worrying about these big giant numbers. The ones and twos matter in our industry and for your business. If I told you that I could sell 1 to 2 more engagement rings every month for you via TikTok, you would take that all day long. And then if I said, well, I could sell 1 to 2 more, a 5 or 6 more diamond studs for you via YouTube. And then I could sit there and sell 2 or 3 fashion pieces of jewelry through Pinterest. And I could sit there and sell one more timepiece for you through Instagram. When you add all of that up, when you add up the 1s and 2s, I just added multiple 6 figures to your business, right? So the 1s and 2s matter. So you need to really segment through, and you need to understand customer personas and customer segments in each of these different channels, right? And so, for example, your Give Me Fresh type customer segment, we just call these different segments when we go through and we sort of understand the customer segments. Those fresh customers are always looking for innovation, the newest models of whatever it is, the newest designs, and they're always wanting to be ahead of the curve. So for those customers that you identify as sort of your fresh customers, you're always showing them fresh fashion. You're always showing them the latest thing as you unbox a video of the newest pieces that you get in the store. Then you have your customizers, and your customizers are saying, hey, let me as the consumer lead the journey. So you talk about your custom jewelry. You talk about pieces of jewelry that let you personalize and customize. You talk about stacks that you can curate and the customer can sit there and stack different ways. For your core customers, they're your loyalists, right? They're willing to try whatever you're guiding them. They seek your lead. So they really want you to show an expertise and thought leadership. So your content there to those people might be an email newsletter that links to a long form video where you're talking about diamond care and how you can optimize light performance by choosing the specific branded diamond that you have, right? And whatever that may be. And then you have your promo price conscious folks, and those price conscious people may be really looking at price, price, price. So you're always leading with a promo. You're always leading with something that allows them to insert a promo code or discount. And so for them, you're focusing on aged inventory that you're trying to close out, closeouts, anything like that you're trying to move. And so you can see how if you segment your messaging toward these folks, and if you segment your email list and your email newsletter, you can email separate segments of your customers with certain offers and content that's contextualized and customized toward them. But remember, the 1s and 2s matter. I see so many people that are trying to sit there and sell 100 new pieces. Well, if you can sell 1 or 2 new pieces a month through using this new platform, you're going to grow your business and you're going to have a record year. These are the things that matter. So again, build multi-segment approaches and remember to count the 1s and the 2s. So when I talk about omnichannel, I want to recap here. The opportunity cost of only doing one thing is way too high to ignore. You got to be doing 2, 3 things at the minimum. Second is get comfortable with trying new things and invest more to reach people. You're going to have to spend more money this year. You're going to have to spend more money to reach people. You're going to have to invest more into digital than you probably ever have because the stakes are changing. The stakes are higher. The new omnichannel is not about consistency across platforms. It's about adoption and adaptation. How do you adapt, right? Adaptation across, adaptation is the word I was looking for. How do you have adaptation across the channels for omnichannel? And then the 1s and 2s matter more than ever. Go after these niche groups. Go after the people in your community that are doctors and have specific medical messaging that goes to them. Go after the people that are teachers. Go after people that are whatever, and customize that content to go after these niche segments and go after the 1s and 2s, right? Now, the second thing that I think is most important for you to understand this year is Evergreen. And this is a new perspective of how you need to be viewing social media, digital marketing, paid advertising online, all of these things. So the first thing you need to do is shift your perception, right? A lot of people are seeing social media, digital marketing, digital advertising as a cost center. A lot of people view marketing and advertising as a cost center, but it's actually the wrong way to look at it. It's actually a profit center for your business. You need to be looking at digital marketing and advertising as your expert in the field, right? It's your expert. It's your expertise in the field, right? And not only is it an expertise, it's an expertise that's 24 hours. So I talked about diversifying the entry and the pathways, right? Social media, paid advertising, digital marketing, paid digital, all of these things, right, are an opportunity for you to have a dedicated salesperson working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, online, optimizing, creating customized messaging, putting things to work for you, and putting products out there in front of consumers at their moment of truth, at their time and place, right? At their moment of need while they're searching, while they're looking, whether they're on their Peloton bike, whether they're in the car, whether they're on the train, whether they're on their lunch break, whether they're 2 a.m. up late, whatever that may be, wherever they are consuming content, 24/7, it's your sales team. So just like you're thinking about your sales team as your profit centers for your business, you need to be thinking about digital marketing, social media, content, paid advertising. These are your virtual sales team. They are the people that are selling for you nonstop. They don't quit. They don't take breaks. They're sitting there, right? And they're sitting there focusing and optimizing your content and your brand to a target consumer that's looking for it at that moment of need. So you need to shift your perception that this evergreen, always on approach to digital is how you're going to be going, right? It's no longer just promoting an event, right? You need to really think about how do you diversify where your ads are going for an evergreen environment. So no longer just an event promotion using social media to promote an event. Think about using social media to advance your strategies. So how do I run an ongoing bridal campaign that's going on 365 days a year, that's hitting on different customer segments? How do I hit on the young professional? How do I hit on the anniversary segment? How do I hit on both the male in the relationship or the female in the relationship? Or maybe I need to be looking at the non-traditional engagement rings or alternative engagement ring styles versus antique engagement ring styles versus custom engagement rings. Like all of the different approaches for these things, I need to be thinking about. And I could be running an evergreen bridal campaign every day of the year that's consistently creating leads to my bridal and my engagement ring sales. So it's the same thing then for fashion jewelry, or maybe it's the same thing that we have a diamond studs program that we're promoting throughout the whole year. Another thing that works great is a services campaign. So your services and repair, we're running campaigns for that for customers, not just when they do an event, but throughout the year that we're seeing great return on, right? So we need to understand our placement. We need to understand who we're targeting. We need to understand the cadence of the advertising. Can it be something that's evergreen, always creating new leads for us as a business? And then how are we measuring that return on it? Are we seeing sales go up? Are we getting those 1 or 2 new sales each month that we need to make a profitable return on all of the effort that we're doing? So when it comes down to it, the consumer is always on. We are always connected as a consumer. So you need to reconfigure your perception of digital advertising, digital marketing, and how you're spending money as a profit center, investing in a dedicated sales expert that delivers content consistently, that delivers your sales pitch with 100% certainty every single time it reaches someone. It doesn't vary, right? You're varying that pitch that you want it to deliver, and then boom, it delivers every single time. The other thing is you need to diversify your ad strategy. You need to be pushing forward. You need to understand where things are going. And the last thing I have to say is that likely you're probably not spending enough to be competitive in the markets right now. If you're in a major market, for sure, you're not spending enough. If you're in a secondary or third tier market, when it comes to DMAs, you really need to be spending more, because you need to be spending on discovery. You need to be spending on search. You need to be spending on remarketing. You need to be spending on conversion and product ads, service ads, whatever that may be, right? The only way to future-proof your business is investing to grow your business. You need to be in the spaces where attention currently is, and that's here, and that's on social, and that's on digital, and that's on content, right? If you're not investing in content, if you're not investing in digital ads right now, you're clearly like missing the boat on this. And I think what showed us last year is like, there's no doubt in that. And as COVID got people even more across the board consuming content, I've never a TV person, right? Until COVID hit. And now I've watched a ton of shows on Netflix or whatever it may be with my wife, right? My wife and I are watching more content than we ever have, right? So now that I've experienced this, yes, I may not watch as much as I have during COVID, but I'm probably going to be more open to experiencing other shows or other content than I ever have before, right? When it comes to content and the way we're connecting with people, as we've connected with people, more and more things are changing. So to future-proof your business, you have to invest in it. And I want to encourage you that you have to get over the fear of spending money in digital in order to see the success that you're wanting to see in digital. We've seen it time and time again. The people that were well vested in this space have come out with record years, record growth, and are doing really, really well right now. I want to open it up to any questions. And while we do that, I'll put my information up here. My personal email address is just ben@the Smithee Group instead of hello@the Smithee Group if you want to contact me there. You can reach me. I'd encourage you, if we're not connected on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, tell me how I can help you out, ask me any questions there too. Mine is Benjamin Smithee, and our group is the Smithee Group. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, ask us any questions. We're always here to help. Mike, you want to chime in with anything?
Yeah, just if anybody has any questions, you guys could put them in the chat and then we'll respond. Got to be some questions. What do you recommend as a starting budget? Is the question from first question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way you can break down a minimum budget where it's absolutely table stakes, where I would say if you can't spend this, then I wouldn't start spending on it. And I'm not talking about boosting posts because that's more reach expansion on a piece of content than a real true digital ad. So when it comes to social, if you're looking at it, if you're not spending today $25, $30 a day on that ad, then you're likely not going to spend for something that's competitive in a typical market, right? So if you look at that and you do that monthly, you look at 20 to 30, right? $20 to $30 a day each month. All of a sudden you're looking at probably $500 to $750 a month to run that particular ad campaign, right? Now what happens is, I've said this, you need to be running multiple variations of ads. So maybe that $20 is broken up between two ad sets, two ad targets. Say it's engagement rings and you're targeting males and females, and 2 or 3 different ad sets within there. But all of a sudden you're going to need to spend, $40 or $50 a day then on that ad campaign. So I would say table stakes, if you're not spending on a single campaign with a specific target audience in that campaign, you're looking at probably $300 to $500 a month on that campaign. And then you start going up. It depends. If you're trying to buy diamond engagement rings on Google search ads, well, your clicks are going to be really expensive. But it depends on what you're trying to do, which, by the way, high cost per click is not a turnoff to me. Sometimes we go for a higher cost per click because we know that we're reaching a really targeted audience, right? I used to have this goal with my team of saying like, hey, how do we get like a $20 cost per click, right? That means we targeted like left-handed bicycle riders in Des Moines, Iowa, that want an engagement ring. Like, how do we target those people? And it's like a $20 click. Well, great. That's great. We've targeted those 1s and 2s, right? How do we prioritize which platforms, which channels to go first? I would say not necessarily your market, but more so your products and age groups and things like that. Where do your customers live? I think in order to answer that question with data is you test across all of your channels, right? Run a Google search campaign, an ad campaign, run a social campaign for Instagram and Facebook, run a Pinterest campaign or a TikTok campaign, or sponsor a podcast, and start seeing and testing it over time to see where your customers are. That said, once you do that initial test, more so than the platform failing is the content failed, and you need to optimize your content, right? I think the big 3 are where you need to start first, right? Google, Facebook, Instagram. Pinterest is a great link referral. It's not as dedicated. It's not as qualified lead traffic as we've seen in other things. But if you're not in spending money dedicated for Facebook, Instagram, Google search display, and in other things, that would say, I'd say the table stakes, like those are the least amount you need to be doing. How do we prioritize, or sorry, what are these ad sets? Which platforms for ads do you recommend? So platforms, same thing I just answered. Ad sets are groups of ads that run within a campaign. So you have a campaign, you have an audience. It could be doing a bridal leads campaign. I have an audience which targets females 21 to 35. And then I'm running 5 different ad variations in that ad set. And then I may run another ad set. So that may be a Gabriel & Co ad set. And then I may run a Takori ad set of 5 or 6 different other ad variations to that same audience within that same bridal leads campaign. What else do we got here, Mike? Oh, if a big portion of your niche doesn't spend too much time on Facebook or Instagram, what types of evergreen campaigns do you suggest? I would say voice is really underrated. Find some niche podcasts. Podcasts are great if you are trying to drive national leads, or if you have local things. I would say local influencer campaigns are great. And that could be bloggers that are not necessarily just on Facebook or Instagram. Google search and display, obviously Evergreen should be huge. Remarketing through Google search and display. Pinterest link referral traffic is crazy. You can get crazy returns on that. And then what else? I'd say honestly, like local banner campaigns on local sites. Like if there's other blogs that do promos, other local stylists and fashion, those type of promos, there's a great opportunity in that. You can also look at digital OTT. If you have a big enough budget, you could be looking at digital OTT, local cable, radio, news. Like it depends on where your audience is. That said, if you're committing budget to traditional media, it needs to be driving to something measurable. So it needs to be driving to a dedicated landing page. It needs to be driving to a dedicated video or something where you can then cookie them, pixel them, get a return on your investment and hit them multiple times following up, because very few times is that one radio ad going to lead to the conversion. Does Instagram shopping put the power to build an audience more in the hands of those willing to invest in ads versus those who are influencers? No, because influencers and ads are really crossing the chasm of both ads and influencers are there. So I'd say that to me, it's interesting. Like Instagram shopping is both. I think that the successful influencers are also running ads today. So it's sort of like a chicken or egg, right? I do say that when you're running ads right now, there's nobody that's running ads in a very strategic way that's not seeing a return on it that I've seen. I've never seen somebody truly fail at being able to successfully, like we've never failed at being able to capitalize on running ads successfully for a product or a retailer to not create sales from it. Like it's just an effective tool. We have seen influencers post stuff that have had zero return. So I think it's a chicken or egg. I don't want to say that one is better than the other, but Instagram shopping in particular, yeah, you are your own influencer. Create 3 different persona influencers from your store team and have them creating their own accounts, or having them create personas within your Smithee Jewelers account, and having them become influencers. So you're all running it through your XYZ Jewelers account instead of other influencers. But that said, if you have great local influencers, you can run successful influencer campaigns with great success. I know there's like, it's a buzzword and everybody wants to hate on the Instagram influencers today. Influencers in the Wild is my favorite meme account actually, and my favorite funny account, but it's just good influencers really do shift brands, especially local influencers that have 10 to 20,000 followers. Like stop going after Kim Kardashians of the world, like go after local influencers that have something other than just an Instagram following. If they have a great podcast, if they have a great blog, if they have a great website, if they have a great YouTube channel, those are the types of people that I really want to invest in partnerships with for influencers, because they're not all the way regulated by Instagram's algorithm, right? And you got to also put ads through their account. So if we're working with an influencer, they're also running ads to promote through their account the content that they've been an influencer partnership with, as well as we're taking their content, we get the rights to those assets, we're running it through the jeweler's account and running ads through it. So you're hitting it organically, you're hitting it paid through the influencer's account, you're hitting it organically through TSG Jewelers account, and you're also hitting it paid through TSG Jewelers account. So it's that multi-layered approach where you're going to win. I think we are coming up here on time, Mike. If anybody wants to hit me up with any other types of questions, anything like that, please do reach out. If you know us, you know we're here to help you out. I want to also just give a quick shout out to Mike and the team at Jewelry Ecomm for having us on. This is such a valuable thing, and it's been long valuable way before COVID. I know jewelry e-commerce and social and digital are all in vogue and the rage right now out of necessity. But this has been a long time coming, folks. It's important to understand because it's not something that is going to just, disappear. It's not something that's going to just regress and retreat after COVID. It's something that's here to stay. And so, Mike, thanks for doing a service to the industry and doing a service to all of the retailers and people out there. We appreciate you, man.